Okay, I thank you so much, Grace. I think we can probably go ahead and kick it off. Well, hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Valaria Rincon. I'm with Rewiring America. And for those of you on the call who are not familiar with us, Rewiring America is a nonprofit organization focused on electrifying everything. We create lots of resources and tools to help folks navigate their electrification journeys. And we can drop into the chat a link to our website, which has some of those tools and resources, and also a consumer-facing website that educates sort of the general audience on all things electrification. But today, we're really excited to be hosting this conversation with experts from Slipstream, Greenline Homes, and the Beals Group on financing, constructing, and thriving in all-electric homes in Chicago. And our wonderful panelists today include Sophia Soul, Energy Operations Researcher at Slipstream. Sophia helps to manage the Comet Electric Homes New Construction Program. She has experience advocating for residential electrification and deep decarbonization as a member of the Illinois Green Alliance Programs Committee. And before joining Slipstream, Sophia worked at the Dane County Office of Energy and Climate Change in Wisconsin, supporting the Dane County Climate Action Plan. She also conducted research and wrote the Green Infrastructure White Paper for Climate Resilience and Adaptation for Dane County Communities. And we're also joined by Benjamin Van Horn, who is the CEO of Greenline Homes, a builder of high-performance, all-electric solar affordable homes in the Woodlawn and Bronzeville communities of Chicago. Since its founding in 1999, Greenline Homes has gone on to produce more than 70 single-family homes, townhomes, and condos across the city. Benjamin is also a certified green professional under the National Association of Home Builders, National Green Building Standard, and a lead green associate. He is a member of the Illinois chapter of the U.S. Green Building Alliance, the Southside Builders Association, the Citizens Climate Lobby, and the Sierra Club. And finally, we're joined by Wayne Beals. Wayne is a skilled and experienced real estate broker who serves the Chicagoland market area. He holds a NAR Green designation and is one of a few brokers experienced in selling all-electric, solar, and high-performance homes, and has deep knowledge of building science and construction in the residential marketplace. He currently serves as the chair of the Chicago Association of Realtors Sustainability Work Group and serves on the Illinois Green Alliance Programs Committee. He lives in an all-electric home himself and is the host of Better House Chicago, a podcast on making homes in Chicago more efficient and comfortable. And before I hand it over to our panelists, I just wanted to go over our agenda for today and a few logistics. So in today's webinar, Wayne will be providing us with an overview of what an all-electric home entails, what the benefits are of an all-electric home, and why builders should be building all-electric. We will then hear from Sophia, who will be providing us with an overview of ComEd's Electric Homes New Construction Program and how builders can leverage those local incentives. And finally, we will hear from Benjamin on his decision to build all-electric homes, how Greenline Homes has figured out the capital stack for some of these projects. And following our panelist presentations, we will also have a chance for Q&A. We'll be going through a lot of pre-submitted questions, but please do feel free to use the webinar's Q&A feature to submit questions in real time as well. We are also going to be recording this webinar, and we will share the recording to all folks who have registered and also upload it to our Rewiring America YouTube channel. So you'll be able to reference it there as well. And with that said, I'm excited to turn the mic over to our first panelist, Wayne.
Valaria, thank you very much for putting this together, and it is really great to present to everybody today. Want to share with you guys a little bit about what we're doing here in the Chicago market. So I'm going to share my screen here, make sure that you guys can see what we're doing. Sorry, moving ahead a little too far. So my name is Wayne Beals. I'm a real estate broker at Exit Strategy Realty. And so I've been in this market about 20 years. And like most real estate brokers, I started off selling every house that I can sell. I met Benjamin, who's one of our speakers today, a long time ago when he was still building gas-powered homes. And, you know, I've been on this journey with him in building all electric homes. I'm also live in an all electric home myself. So around November of 2020, my family and I decided it was time to move and purchase a new house. We couldn't find an all electric home in the market to buy. I had been selling them with Benjamin for years at this point, so I knew that's what I wanted. I understood the benefits of it myself as a consumer. So we ended up buying the house you see in the picture here, which is a fully depreciated red brick ranch from the 1960s. Very energy inefficient house, very small house. It was about 1,200 square feet and very poorly maintained and just really had a lot of challenges. So it was a great candidate to do what we wanted to it. I love the picture on the right, kind of shows what the gas company did to my driveway after they charged me $1,600 to remove our gas line. They graffitied up my driveway with gas off, but I thought it was a fitting photo for this entry slide. So this is what the home looks like today with the help of Benjamin. You know, it's an amazing thing to live in an all-electric home. There's just a lot of benefits that come with living this way. You know, we certainly needed more space, so we made the home bigger. And we decided, obviously, to make it all electric as we went. So I'm going to share some details about that with you as we go. So the first thing you really have to understand when we're talking about new construction in particular is that we're starting with something that doesn't exist currently, right? So when we're putting a gas line in a lot of ways, you know, if you think about it just very pragmatically, you're installing an obsolete fuel source with obsolete equipment, like so a furnace, a gas stove. These are things that are, you know, they should have been gone a long time ago. We can do better with just electric. And we're going to get into detail about that. So Greenline Homes has been building all electric homes since 2016. And I think at this point, they've built more all electric homes than gas powered homes. We have over 43 all electric homes we've sold in the market with people living in them. So we have a lot of feedback from our owners. There are currently 11 homes under construction. They range from single family homes to 4-unit buildings. They range in square footage from 1,600 at the small end to close to 4,000 at the 4-unit level. The big thing you have to understand when consumers are buying a home is they don't want to sacrifice anything for sustainability. I think it's a sad thing to say, but consumers really want to not have to give something up to have a more efficient home. So when we are selling and marketing green homes, to be successful at it, you really have to deliver a home that is superior. Now, how do we do that? Well, we start off with building a home that is better insulated, that is air sealed, it has all those conservation features. So you get a quieter interior, you get less maintenance. The home is more comfortable because it's better insulated and doesn't have air leaks, doesn't have drafts. It's more affordable to fuel and it's more affordable to heat and cool. The building is safer. It doesn't have gas in it, so there's no explosive gas, there's no carbon monoxide hazards. There's obviously better indoor air quality. The home is built to a higher standard. They're not subject to utility cost increases like a gas-powered house is. You know, our base gas delivery charge here in the Chicago market is over $30 with 0 therms used. So gas can be a very expensive thing for consumers to have. The ability to offset your electricity using solar is also another big benefit of going all electric. You can basically own your own power. So the photo on the right here is one of the kitchens of a typical Greenline home. This is actually a 2-unit building. This is what we term the owner's unit, which is a duplex up, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath space. In the background there, you see a nice induction range, and we're going to talk about that. Cutaway here of what one of our buildings looks like if you split them in half. Effectively on the rooftop, you've got solar. Underneath that, you've got a really well insulated roof. And then you've got all these electrical mechanical systems that we're going to go into detail on. We've got a heat pump system that it's a cold climate system that works here in the Chicago market, allows you to maintain the extreme level of comfort inside this house. We have a heat pump hot water heater, a hybrid hot water heater in this building. We have a heat pump condensing dryer, and we have an induction range. We're going to take each of those items one by one. So induction ranges, I describe this as the induction experience. So when you talk to a consumer about cooking with electricity, I think a lot of people have really bad experiences with the big red cooktop, which is sort of when they see an induction range, they don't necessarily differentiate between what this stove is in the photo and an old electric cooktop. And I think a lot of people have bad experiences with old electric cooktops. So because it's such an emotional experience for people, and cooking is something that they have an emotional relationship with, as a realtor in the sales process, it's something we have to talk a lot about. Induction cooking is an upgrade from gas cooking. You get more control. The cooking process is safer because there's no open flame, there's no explosive gas, there's no fumes coming from the cooking. It's certainly more efficient. Induction cooking, about 90 to 95% of the energy you're using is actually being used to cook, as opposed to a gas cooktop where a significant portion, over 50%, is actually heating up the room, or going up the hood. It's certainly easier to clean. You don't have any heavy grates in the way. Because the cooktop stays cold and it uses magnetic waves to only heat up your cookware, there's no charring on the cooktop, so it's just much easier to keep a neat and clean appearance. And with so many open concept kitchens out there, it's nice to have a range that's easy to keep clean and looking good. And so these are things you really have to talk to the consumer about, just to build up their excitement about transitioning to a cooktop like this, because most consumers have not used an induction cooktop before. Biggest plus, indoor air quality. There's no nitrous oxide emissions. There's no carbon monoxide emissions. There's no methane leaks. There's none of that bad stuff in your indoor air quality from having gas cooking. Again, I really want to reinforce the friction point. The friction point is that consumers don't really off the bat recognize the difference between induction cooking and typical old electric cooking unless you, who's presenting it to them, really discuss the differences. So it's really important to drive that home. I think consumers especially consumers that love their gas range and have never tried induction, really need to have their attention put on this so that they can see themselves making that transition. Heat pumps. So we talked about heating and cooling a home. So obviously you want to get your heating and cooling down, load as far down as you can. So that means insulating really well, means air sealing really well. However, once you do all that and you know what your load is, you can install a properly sized heat pump. And so what we're looking at here is the systems we use at Greenline. So the picture with the big gray box here, which is the Mitsubishi Electric, this would replace a typical furnace if you were doing a retrofit. It also supplies a ducted system in new construction. The wall unit here can be used in an open concept room. So for example, we have one level of our 2-unit building where this is the primary heating and cooling device there. There's no ductwork necessary. We like this unit because it's incredibly efficient. It's very easy to maintain. It's also got a little infrared sensor here that can scan the room looking for hot and cold spots and keeping this room incredibly comfortable. The outside unit of a heat pump is right here. And so what this does is it simply takes heat, like an air conditioner, from the inside of the home to the outside in the summer. And in the wintertime, there's a reversing valve. And this system takes heat from the outside and moves it into a home. This system can take enough heat from outside the building in the wintertime down to -17 to heat our homes. So it's really important to understand that even though it's cold outside, there's still energy and heat in that air that can be moved to the inside of the building with this technology. Heat pumps are also incredibly efficient. When we talk about levels of efficiency, when you talk to a person who's used to a gas furnace, they might think 80% or 85% or maybe even 95% is an excellent level of efficiency, which is what furnaces typically come in. And heat pumps at mild outdoor temperatures operate at about 380% efficient. So you can see that 1 watt of electricity used in a heat pump can move up to 3.8 watts of heat into a building. So it's really just important to understand that heat pumps are orders of magnitude more efficient than gas furnaces. When you're talking with consumers about heat pumps, you really want to make sure, you want to reinforce that these are not very complicated systems. They're actually simpler than furnaces. You know, when we had a discussion earlier today with a group, and we were talking about the complexity around heating and cooling systems, gas furnaces have all sorts of things to make sure that it keeps you alive. So they have oxygen sensors, they have carbon monoxide detectors, they have igniters, they have all these different things in there to make sure that the unit operates safely. And if any of those components fail, it's going to be a service call, it's going to be hundreds of dollars, and the system's going to be down. Heat pumps are air conditioners. So they're very, very simple pieces of equipment, and they operate much more reliably than any furnace that I've seen. They're also very quiet. I think one of the things that you get when you're dealing with a heat pump is that these DC powered motors they operate with allow them to slow down and maintain the temperature of the building, so you don't get overcycling like you do with a gas system, where you get the system kicks on, it goes 2 degrees or so past its set point, and it doesn't, and then when it shuts down, it doesn't turn back on until it's about 2 degrees below its set point. Whereas heat pumps basically try to maintain the exact set temperature nonstop, and they just slow down to keep that load there. They're quiet, obviously, because they're running slowly and not at full speed. So when you're outside next to this unit here, unless it's running at full speed, it's actually very quiet to be next to. So you can put this next to a patio without really disrupting your outdoor environment. Obviously, they're safer. There's no gas in here. There's no carbon monoxide hazard. There's none of those things. Friction points here, you know, if you're a developer or if you're a builder trying to build with this kind of equipment, it's going to take a little bit of conversations with your mechanical engineers. It's going to take some conversations with your contractors. I'm going to save that for our builder, Benjamin, to talk about. Let's talk a little bit about domestic hot water. We all need to heat water in our homes. So the most efficient way we know how to do this is with electricity, and it is with using a heat pump hybrid hot water heater. So this system here, and there's our energy guide label here. You know, pay attention to that $104. So next time you're at the home center, look at the comparative gas models, look at the tankless models, and you're going to find none of them can reach this standard of operating cost. So they're very, very cost effective to operate, saving you hundreds of dollars a year in energy. Over a 10-year lifespan of this tank, it should save you $1,000 to $2,000 in operating cost. This is a great retrofit for your home. So what we're doing here is we're taking heat, ambient heat from the room. It's coming into the unit. That heat is being then transferred in using refrigeration into the water tank itself. And by doing that, there's a very high level of efficiencies, over 300% in the energy we're using. These systems also have really high demand recovery settings too. So if you have an occasional situation like, everybody's getting ready for a wedding and taking showers subsequent to each other, this has resistors in it, like a typical hot water heater. So it can heat the water not only with the heat pump, but it can fire the resistors as well and really keep up with a high level of load. I want to stress that these systems are more efficient than gas systems, and they're more efficient than tankless systems. There's a lot of confusion out there. People think tankless water heaters are more efficient than hybrid hot water heater tank systems, and that's just not true. Although they're only making water when it's needed, they use a very large amount of power when they do. And one of the biggest challenges with going electric with a tankless system is you really need a very large electrical service to keep up with residential demand. Tankless systems use somewhere on the order of 80 to 140 amps to operate when they're electrical, and most homes currently have about 100 amp service. So you would be using more than the home is already sized to. These hybrid hot water heaters use somewhere between 20 to 30 amps, so they're much more energy efficient and much more compatible with our systems that we currently have in our homes. Big friction point here, if you are thinking about switching out your water heater at home, you really should be considering the fact that home centers don't currently stock these in great numbers. So if your water heater, like most people wait for their water heater to start leaking or fail before they replace it. And if you're planning on switching to one of these hybrid heat pump hot water heaters, which is kind of a no-brainer if you have a gas water heater because it's safer and better, you should really do it before your unit fails because it may take some time for the home center to get it in order. Heat pump condensing clothes dryers. So this is another function we typically use gas for, is drying our clothes. So over here you see on the top this Whirlpool unit. So what's great about heat pump dryers, they simply take ambient heat from inside the room, condense it into the drum. It cycles that heat through the drum, so they don't exhaust to the outside at all. I think a lot of you are probably familiar with when a dryer is running, you see a plume of steam outside the building in the wintertime. And that is heat being ejected out of the building along with the moisture in your clothes. So I call that throwing the baby out with bath water. In the wintertime, you want to keep that heat inside the building. What these units do is take ambient heat, move them into the drum. That heat stays in the drum. There's a cold coil in part of this system here, and it runs that warm air that picks up humidity out of your clothes, drying your clothes, and runs that warm air over an ice cold coil, which condenses the water that's in that air and pumps that water into the plumbing system. So there's no need to vent to the outside, and there's no need to exhaust all that expensive energy that you're spending to dry your clothes. To the user, there's really no difference between a hybrid heat pump water heater and a heat pump clothes dryer. So it's a very, very low friction thing to switch to. The biggest thing I tell people is that you just have to order these things in advance, because we're starting to see, at least in our market area here, hybrid heat pump dryers being stocked. But until recently, that just wasn't the case, and you would have to order them special. So if your dryer fails and you need a dryer right away, it's actually really hard to get one unless you have one on order. We talked a little bit about our HVAC systems. I kind of want to circle back to indoor air quality, because we've mentioned that a couple times with removing combustion from our building. Once you build a building more airtight and you make it better insulated, you really want to pay attention to your indoor air pollution sources. And so we use an energy recovery ventilator. And so how this simply works is we take air from the outside, bringing that air in. We pass that over a heat exchanger and then into the HVAC system. We take the same amount of air, a little bit of it, out of the return side of the HVAC system, run it through a heat exchanger, take that heat, move it to the incoming air, and exhaust the stale air outside. This is basically the equivalent of an open window 24/7, 365 days a year, without the energy penalty of an open window, without the allergy or the outdoor air pollution penalty. This past summer in Chicago, we had some pretty bad air quality days with some wildfire smoke from Canada that rolled in. So when you build an airtight building and you have one of these units, you can actually keep your indoor air very clean, which is healthier, obviously, for you and your family. And I personally believe that a sense of security and safety is sort of one of the primary functions of a home, and just being sheltered from those environmental pollutants. So this is your building's nose and lungs. This is the unit we use here, and they actually work in conjunction with exhaust fans and our exhaust hoods for our stove. You turn on one of these fans, it starts pulling air out. The building is airtight, so it creates a little negative pressure in the building. This system senses the negative pressure, and it adjusts its airflow to allow makeup air for these systems to work better. So now we're able to take out moisture and indoor air pollution at the source, so over the stove or in the bathrooms. Solar. So once you've kind of made this migration, you've got a heat pump clothes dryer, you've got a heat pump water heater, you've got an induction range, and you've got a cold climate heat pump heating and cooling your building. You don't need gas anymore. And so what's really wonderful about that is you can switch to solar PV. So here's just a few images of some of our buildings, and you can see here the size of the solar arrays is pretty large. We're using as much advantage as we can, using as much of that roof as we can to produce power. That power is DC power, and it ends down to this inverter where it tabulates how much power we're creating, and it converts it to AC and then sends it to our system. The way we've designed our setup is that we overproduce power from March through October, and we net meter. So effectively, our meter is spinning backwards during those months, and we're banking that power, that extra power, with our utility, Comet. And then Comet is going to give us that power back during the winter months when the days are a little shorter and the skies are a little more overcast and the sun's a little lower in the sky. So we are grid tied. So to reinforce that, we're not off the grid, but grid tied solar can be really beneficial by offsetting your energy cost and really allowing you to own your power. So, in summary, it's a win, right? It's a win for the consumer, it's a win for the home builder, it's a win for the community. So I encourage all the builders out there who are considering moving towards an all-electric footprint. This is something that you really want to get ahead of. This is where a lot of the most successful and the best builders are going, and your competition will get a leg up on you. We have discussions all the time about our effect on our market area. And the reality is that when Greenline builds a home in a market and somebody builds a home right next to them, that home that's next to them that's not all electric and not sustainable is not going to sell until our home does. So we are a real disruptive force. And as more and more builders start building these houses, they're going to be more and more competitive, and you don't want to be the last home builders of the party. So those are my slides, and I am going to turn us back over to Valaria. And
All right. Thank you so much, Wayne. Awesome. That was great. I'm excited for all these great questions that we have in the chat. First, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Sophia to tell us a little bit more about ComEd's incentive program for building all electric homes.
Awesome. Thanks, Valaria. So let's dive into the Comet Electric Homes program a little bit more. A little bit about the background. How did we start? We conducted a feasibility study back in 2019, and we saw a potential growth of electric homes market in Northern Illinois. And we implemented the program as a pilot in 2020. And with the increase of electric homes every year, it became an official full-fledged program in 2022. So we have been accepting new construction and major renovation projects. And so far, that totals up to 125 units, which are shown on the map in green, and also expected to increase to 240 homes, including this year. So you can see the blue dots, those are in the pipeline projects in 2024. These maps clearly show how the number of homes and location of electric homes geographically expanded, not just in Chicago area, but to suburbs as well. So you can see we have a lot of homes in Marengo, Evanston, very north and southwest side of Northern Illinois. From 11 homes from 2020 to 68 units in 2023. In terms of the project types, we have been accepting diverse project types as well. These are just a few of amazing electric homes that participated in the program. We had the single family, 2 to 4 flats, townhomes, auxiliary dwelling units. That expanded a lot during the pandemic as people needed extra space for working from home, and also small multifamily projects as well. We just had the 15-unit project completed last year, and I'm sure we'll continue to have more multifamily projects in the pipeline in 2024 and even to 2026. And I already see that through the growth of participation in the program as well. I know a lot of people might be curious, like, why build all electric? Why electric homes are so fascinating? I know Wayne just went over very well with all the electric homes benefits, but I want to show and share a few more successful stories that builders and homeowners shared with me on their homes and projects. So starting from the left, we have this home completed in April 2023. And homeowners shared why they went all electric and how they feel so far after a year living there. To summarize the quote, a lot of people, think that they have to sacrifice the comfort or convenience, but that definitely wasn't the case. This home is actually comfortable year-round and compared to gas furnace or traditional AC combination. Also, they wanted to think forward from an energy users perspective for the next 30 plus years home. And this was cut out, but also they mentioned that they wanted to have a resilient, flexible home that they can continue to adapt to new technology like EV charger or heat pump performance, any efficient appliances and equipment along the way. Also, we have on your right, Green Line Homes project. Obviously, we have plenty of high performance all electric homes, but this one particularly stood out. We wanted to highlight this net zero energy home achieved a HERS index score -9. I personally didn't know it could go below 0, but this score actually indicates that, annual savings is about $2,270 compared to other average US homes. Another unique home, all electric modular home, built by Inherent Home. So this one is 0.57 air changes per hour. So that's very airtight, well insulated home. It's about $80 electric bill in July 2023, considering 2 people working from home. Also on the right, we have Tom Bestidilli Architect's home. So he renovated his home built in 1919. This net positive home achieved, achieved by 8 kilowatt of solar system, and that's about a savings of $1,400 annual energy cost savings. And considering this is built in 1919, achieving 2.0 air changes per hour is very tight and very well insulated home. So it is really impressive. We also made a case study with this project. So the case study shares the detailed strategies, including, how they achieved healthy indoor air quality with the energy recovery ventilation. How did they achieve the net positive home? I'm not going to read everything here, but as you can see, there are plenty of reasons why we build electric from just these 4 homes, and there are a variety of benefits and successes. And so these benefits are just a few of many benefits of going all electric. And what makes these homes so unique and achieving high performance? A lot of homes that I just showed you are going above and beyond. But they are definitely meeting these minimum program requirements. As you can see on the right from the infographic here, the blue colored ones are the minimum program requirements. So you really have to think about the holistic view of, energy efficient all electric homes. That starts with high quality building envelope, well insulated envelope, heat pump space sitting on the bottom right. There is a heat pump water heater to the next. And also for the appliances, think about, Energy Star certified refrigerator, dishwasher, clothes washer and dryer, LED light bulbs, low flow faucets, smart thermostats, if that's compatible with the HVAC system that you chose. Also ensure the indoor air quality and comfort requirements. The orange colored ones are not part of the requirements, but we highly, highly recommend those: solar, EV charger, and induction cooktop. Wayne just went over all the benefits of the induction cooktop. So we definitely do recommend having an induction cooktop for a healthier indoor air quality. We started to see more small multifamily projects. So the requirements are still the same, but just a few additional requirements are the common area lighting power, parking garage, interior, exterior lighting power as well. Incentives are very straightforward. For those, achieve these, the requirement that we just went over, we provide the financial incentive per unit, depending on the square footage. So we have this 3-tier where, depending on the square feet of the unit, you will be able to get $3,000 to up to $5,000 per unit. So let's say you have a 2-flat project that's 1,000 square footage each unit. That means $4,000 per unit. So totals up to $8,000 for the project. The Home Energy Rater will also receive a $200 per unit incentive, as they will help us fill out the rater workbook when the project is completed as well. I want to share these resources. There are a lot of tools and resources that you can look into to learn more about the heat pumps. We actually have this savings calculator available for you guys to use. If you enter home type, the year the home was built, the square footage, things like that, it kind of gives you the idea of how much the electric bill you will save, or will it decrease, or will it increase, and things like that. So I think it's a really useful tool to take a look into. This is on-demand air source heat pump training for free that you can learn more about the air source heat pump as well. So the one that's coming up is the 15th of February, replacing ACs with air source heat pump. So it's pretty cool to check that out as well. And I'll leave with this one, last but not least. We have created an all-electric homes tour video with Greenland Homes. You will definitely find all the benefits and features that Wayne just went through from this slide, but Wayne shows a cool trick to show how safe and efficient the induction cooktop is. So definitely check that out. It's pretty awesome. So I'll leave it at that, and I'll pass it to Valaria.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sophia. So now we're going to transition into the Q&A portion of the webinar. And thank you so much to our attendees who've added some really great questions in the chat. And I see that Wayne has been answering quite a few of them. But please feel free to continue to put questions in the chat as we're going through some of the questions. So I want to pivot over to you, Benjamin, and ask a little bit more about your own interest in deciding to build all electric homes and take Greenline Homes all electric.
Sure. Around 2014, I read a climate change book, which I think is a lot of people, that's their entry into this. And I had a vacant lot in the Woodlawn neighborhood, and I decided to, well, we were building LEED certified homes for years leading up to that, but they all had gas lines, and reading that we have to stop burning fossil fuels if we want to save ourselves and the planet, I said, why are we still, supplying gas to these homes? And if we put solar on them, why not make them all electric so we can utilize the energy we're producing on the home? And so we permitted a home in 2015. That was our first home like that. And we spent a little bit more money in the construction than average. And it was a little bit of an experiment, but we've been doing it ever since. So there must be something to it. And I would say I thought that we would lead by example, and that we'd have a lot of competition because we've done so well with it, but it hasn't. We haven't had that many competitors, which has been somewhat disappointing, although that may seem counterintuitive for somebody who's in business to want more competition.
Right. Yeah.
But now and that's partly because there's an inertia to it, and people want to do what they feel comfortable doing, and the idea of spending a little bit more money to have a market advantage is not to everybody's liking. But now the economics of it have changed with the Inflation Reduction Act, and you can actually make more money doing this. You spend a little bit more, but you get more back in incentives now. So it's an interesting time, and I think there are more people doing it. And it's good to do this now, learn about it, get good at it, because at some point you will likely be forced to do this by the government. So it's better to get ahead of it now, set yourself apart in the marketplace, gain the advantage of that, and succeed.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think something that comes up a lot in conversation when we're talking about building all electric homes is how much does it cost? So it's interesting to hear you say that you can get more money back in incentives now. So just curious to hear a little bit more about how you all have financed your projects.
Well, financing, we finance very traditionally, but I will bring up a slide that is actually, let me go back a page. that shows kind of this, what I'm talking about when it comes to that you can make money now. So I have the extra, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. There's the extra costs involved in going all electric. There's a little bit of extra engineering that really everybody should be doing this already, but it is a requirement and very recommended that you get a true manual in D that is designed for your home, that's telling what your heat load is, what your energy load is, and a plan for your ductwork, if you have ductwork, or plan for your equipment sizing. So the Mitsubishi heat pumps that we use, the overall, everything involved does cost more than comparable 95% efficient gas furnace. There's all kinds of benefits to it, and you can sell that, and it's a luxury, experience like Wayne discussed. But that is a hurdle for a lot of people to think they're going to pay a little bit more. There are a little bit of electric cost if you're in a municipality other than Chicago that doesn't require you to do this already. There's a $1,500 to $2,000 extra, electric wiring. The city of Chicago now requires that you do this even if you are running a gas line. And then to get the incentives listed below, you have to pay a rater to do your certification, to test your home, to check on your insulation values and test it for airtightness at the end, and to do some paperwork that'll help you get your certifications. $950. We put in electric resistance backup heaters in case of extreme cold, so that we don't get, anybody who's complaining that their heat pump isn't keeping up in the extreme cold. And which is not required by code, but it's recommended. So that's $7,000 total in extra costs. And the total of our three incentives, we're not talking about solar, that's a separate thing. But you save some money not installing gas lines, $1,500. ComEd's giving us $5,000 for one unit. We can get, between $8,000 and $10,000 for a 2-flat. And then there's the Department of Energy, sometimes known as a 45L tax credit, that you can get if you are certified Zero Energy Ready Homes, ERH, and that's $5,000 a unit. So you can get 10 if you do a 2-flat. And so you can see that there's a financial benefit to doing this. Of here, it's $4,400. What I don't have on here are the cost of an induction stove versus a gas stove, the cost of the heat pump water heater and your heat pump dryer, which these are those costs. So you can take those and compare them to whatever you're installing. They're not wildly expensive compared to a high quality alternative version of those. So
Well, this is so great. Thank you so much. I think going through the math really helps folks to visualize how this can really pencil out as a project. So I really appreciate you sharing this slide. And aside from the cost of an all-electric home, how difficult has it been to convince your subcontractors, your HVAC guys, your electricians, et cetera, to make this transition with you?
Electricians, no problem. Just tell them what the equipment is. They'll look it up and, provide the needed power for it. They're happy. I mean, it's more work for them. So the plumbers kind of have a trade-off. They're not installing gas lines anymore, but they do have to install drains for your heat pumps that all produce condensate. The water heater produces condensate, so that's drain work they have to do. Your HVAC contractor, I'd say, is your trickiest one. I believe there were more heat pumps sold in America last year than traditional gas furnaces. A lot of people who have been ahead of the curve in trying to get heat pumps installed in Illinois run into a lot of traditional contractors who tell them that won't work in Illinois. It won't keep the heat up. They are 10 years behind the technology. The more people they have who ask them about heat pumps and then who go somewhere else, they will realize they have to, get with it. And I just heard that LG, which is a producer of heat pumps, is going to open a training center on the south side of Chicago in the next year. There are lots of opportunities from the manufacturers for HVAC contractors to get on board. I sought out a contractor who was Energy Star certified because that was needed at some point in the LEED certification. And he was already familiar with heat pumps and is now somebody who's, is a leading contractor in that. So if you want to grow your business as an HVAC contractor, this is the opportunity to do that, because you can steal market share from those people who are not changing.
Lots of opportunities here to be growing business and to be kind of riding this momentum that we're starting to see around all electric homes. Lastly, I was just curious to ask too, has there been any friction with the city or city inspectors as you've been leading on this transition?
Yes, and I believe that that's something common. So not just going to happen in the city of Chicago. Heat pumps maybe 10 or 15 years ago, after it got below 10 degrees, you would have to have backup heat for that. That is no longer the case. They can keep you comfy all the way through, like the very cold snap we just had. So sometimes you encounter a building code official, building inspector who is against heat pumps. The one who is most fervently against them in Chicago has now retired. So there were some nuances to it where they have actually changed the code in Chicago to make sure that we're not violating code at all with the way we install them. So that hopefully has been paved the way in Chicago, where it's not difficult. Anybody who encounters that, feel free to reach out to me, and the higher ups in the inspection bureaus and higher up in the Department of Building, they're all in favor of this and are aware that it is a better product, better for the consumers, and you can always reach out to them. And
Wonderful.
rely on your manufacturer reps too. The people from Mitsubishi, the people from LG will show up at code meetings if necessary, if you need to go that route.
That's great. Really great advice. Thank you. Very actionable advice too. I have a few questions for Wayne as well. So I'm going to pivot over to you, Wayne. What are some concerns that home buyers have when it comes to purchasing an all-electric home? You walked through a couple of the friction points, but is there something that you hear kind of come up more frequently than at other times?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is the homes are a little bit different. And so I think anytime something's different, people have a lot of questions. And anytime people have a lot of questions, you have to give them a lot of answers. When you give them a lot of answers, it starts to sound complicated, right? So I think that it's important to stress to people that generally speaking, all electric homes are just orders of magnitude simpler than gas-powered homes. So I'll give you a great example. Every gas-powered home has a central air conditioner. Well, every electric home also has a central air conditioner, but it doesn't have a furnace, right? So we use our heat pump to heat and cool. So we eliminate one appliance in that respect, right? So all the igniters that you would have at a furnace, the carbon monoxide sensor inside a furnace that often fails, the oxygen sensor that fails in your furnace that leaves you without heat on a cold day waiting for a service call, those things are gone. Maintenance of burners, gone, right? So all electric homes are just simpler. We talked a little bit about induction cooking and, kind of, when I cook fried chicken on Fridays, it makes a big mess, right? So if you have a gas range, you're moving heavy iron grates and you're doing all that stuff to maintain and clean your cooktop. Well, with induction cooktops, they don't even get hot, right? So nothing's charged to it. You literally wipe it off with some like a spray cleaner and you're done. So I think that in general, maintenance is easier, not harder with these homes. And it's important to stress that in the presentation. I think people tend to get stuck on the emotional part of it, which is the gas cooking thing. And so I always tell people that's like, as a realtor, that's what I hone in on. I'm trying to make sure that somebody feels like they can successfully cook for their family in this kitchen. And that's what I want to leave them with in the process.
That's great. Well, that's really interesting to hear. And I'm also curious, aside from, prospective home buyer looking into all electric homes, what do you think are some of the things that might be holding builders back from making this transition?
I'll give you a couple answers, and maybe Benjamin would actually be a really good person to talk about here too, and probably Sophia, because she talks to a lot of builders. Risk is a big deal in construction. Anytime you build homes, you're worried about down the road risk, and anytime you change something about the home you're building, you're really concerned that, hey, is this going to bite me later on, right? And I tell people all the time, if you follow sound building science principles, if you follow code, you really have nothing to lose. There's no risk being absorbed. There is work and effort that you have to put in as a builder to learn these things, but they make you a better builder, right? And if you become a better builder, you are going to become more successful. So to me, it isn't something that should be holding them back, but it is something that gives them pause, right? So I think if you're going to be doing this for 10, 15, 20 more years, building homes as products, I mean, you should get with this now. This is not something you should jump on once code tells you to do it, because then you're going to be scrambling like everybody else when you could be thriving in that environment. So
It's very true. Well, Sophia, Benjamin, anything to add to that?
To add a little bit more on that, I see a lot of people concerned about the lack of workforce development or, HVAC contractor that they can really reach out to. But there are, as I share the resources, there are many free resources that people can take advantage of for, to learn more about the heat pump. But also, if you reach out to me, there are a lot of builders. Do you have any HVAC contractors who I can reach out to specifically ask about this technical question, or specifically ask about this project that I'm working on? I'm happy to connect you to whoever the expert is. And obviously we have this expert, Wayne and Benjamin, to ask more technical questions too. So there are resources. So please don't say there aren't many people out there, or I can't really find information about facts on the heat pump performance or anything like that. I'm happy to share more on that too.
Wow, that's very generous offer. Thank you so much, Sophia. Benjamin, anything to add to that?
add real quick this what Sophia just said before we I meet builders all the time that are building all electric homes, right? And then they don't realize that there's a bunch of other people doing the same thing. You know what I mean? And so like and once this community started getting established, right? Like I met the 15-unit building owner the other day who literally just finished a 15-unit building, and he was like, man, I feel like I've been all alone. And then he discovered that, wait, there's all these other people doing it, and he just has not met them yet. So networking is really important in the builder community.
That's great. That's really great to know. I guess I was going to ask Sophia, how many builders do you see participating right now in the Comet Electric new homes construction program? Do you feel like it's capturing a good swath of the builders that exist out there that are building all electric?
Yeah. Well, from 2020 as like a pilot program started to 2023, we had so far 128, 6 units. And then considering this year pipeline, we have been starting to see a lot of small multifamily projects and up to 50 unit projects as well to complete in 2025, 2026. So that is a really good change and a good trend happening right now in the market. Because previously we have been seeing, one single family project participated in the program, but now a lot of larger development happening, and with a variety of projects participating in the program. So I think definitely we are capturing a lot of builders, who want to learn more about the all electric, building all electric homes, but also, capturing those people who already participated and continuously have that repeat builders participating in the program as well.
I'll
Something-
say something
Go ahead, yes.
too. So we probably get about 2 inquiries a month, people who want us to build houses outside of our geographic area, which is really just the lakefront south side of Chicago. And we tell them no. So there's this unmet demand for these homes, you know, in the suburbs, on the north side of Chicago. So if I had somebody to refer them to, there's this pipeline of buyers who want these homes elsewhere. So let me know if you're going to start building these houses somewhere else, and you can be my referral.
That's so awesome. Well, then really great to hear about how the demand is kind of spreading across the city. I meant to ask you, Benjamin, as well, you know, why start with like Woodlawn and for the Bronze Mill community specifically in Chicago?
There's a long answer to that, but I got planted in Woodlawn at the beginning of my building career in 1999, and it's my community, and I focus on you know, Woodlawn and Bronzeville. Just I want to stay geographically committed to those areas.
Awesome. Well, it's great to see anyways that there's lots of opportunity across the city for this kind of work. And really great to hear that there are resources available to folks who might not be building all electric yet, but may have an interest. And I've certainly seen folks in the chat express interest in, you know, developing some of their own property units. So you guys may be getting a bit more business your way, or at least be able to refer to other builders who might be building in those communities. And since we're close to time here, I'm just wondering if maybe you all could reflect on how you all have seen the market for all electric homes evolve over time, and anything in particular that you feel like has really moved the needle in this space or has had the potential to move the needle.
I think, you know, the consumer drives the train. So over the years, we've been building these houses, we've been getting attention. First, it was a drip, and it was a trickle. Now we have a real flow of people through our houses. The first houses we sold in 2016 were really, I mean, we had to find an enthusiast buyer, somebody who was a climate change person, right? Now we're selling homes to consumers that just see us as a better home. And I think it's important for the building community and consumers and everybody to realize that when a product is better, it is going to put the product that is inferior out of the market. And, you know, I think what I tell a lot of folks is that, you know, Greenline is building the Tesla version of the house, and our competitors are building brand new 1987 Ford Tauruses. And I mean, if you're out there buying a car today, are you going to buy a great car or a car that hasn't been redesigned in decades? Right? Even if it's brand new, you're not going to buy that old piece of technology. You're not going to invest your money there. And I think the consumer is starting to drive the train and is starting to have options and choice. And that's what's really going to change this market. And I think it's really important for builders just to absolutely recognize that and start moving forward to understand that.
I'm excited because, like, if you look at Sophia's map, you'll see a cluster on the west side of Chicago and a cluster on the south side of Chicago. And I'm excited that that not just what we do, but there's actually a handful of other builders who are focused on those areas who are building all electric now. And we couldn't say that a couple of years ago. So I hope that's an exciting trend. I hope it snowballs.
Definitely with the consumer perspective, education, builder education, whenever I talk to builders, they're actually wanted to go above and beyond of the minimum program requirements. I just started to see, I see the net zero energy ready home tax credit available out there. And what do I have to meet in order to, you know, get advantage of that credit, but also, you know, meet the program requirements from the Comet program as well. So I kind of love to see that builders eager to learn a little bit more about compared to, 3-4 years ago. So that's a really good sign of, market transformation, I think.
It's wonderful. Well, it's a great note to end on. And thank you all so much for joining us today. And thank you so much to our panelists for engaging us in this conversation around financing, constructing, and thriving in all electric homes. If you all enjoyed this webinar, please feel free to reach out to me as well if there are other cities, utilities, community organizations whose building electrification work you'd like to see us feature. But thank you all so much for joining us again today. Thank you again to our panelists, and I hope everyone has a great rest of their day. Thank you all so much.
Thanks for organizing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.